Welcome to the Call Millionaires. Welcome all millionaires. My name is Alma Nansweet, and I'm your host today. Thank you all so very much for calling in, and I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to this self-esteem development training call, Obsessed with Success. Just in case this is your first time calling in, let me be the first person to inform you that we do have these calls each and every Wednesday, and they are always filled with strategies and tips on self-esteem development, entrepreneurship, as well as secrets of the super wealthy. Now, I've been listening to these calls for just over a year now, and they have honestly changed my life. Now, I have the honor and the privilege to introduce Mr. Haziq Ali. Mr. Ali helps people for a living, and he also loves giving back and providing service. He has a knowledge and so much wisdom with an uncanny level of awareness. Because of this, we affectionately call him the Wizard. Mr. Ali is an author, a self-esteem development coach, my personal mentor and friend. Now, coming right up is Mr. Haziq Ali. Are you on the line, sir?
Yes, I am, Ms. Nansweet, and thank you so much for everything you do. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly, sir.
Okay, that is awesome. Welcome, millionaires. Obsessed with Success, number 87. We're going to jump right into it because there's so much to cover, and after all, this is about time management, so make sure that you're ready to take notes because it's going to come kind of hard and heavy this week. Just start off by imagining, because at the end of the day, why is time management so important, right? Like, I mean, we always hear it, like yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why we call it the present, right? But just imagine for a minute that there's a bank that credits your account each morning with $86,400. $86,400. It carries over no balance day to day. Every evening, the bank is going to delete whatever part of the balance you failed to use during the day. What would you do? Would you draw out every cent you could? Or would you just have faith that it's another day tomorrow, they'll give me some more? If you're anything like me, you're like, man, I don't know how long this is going to last. I'm about to get every penny out every single day. I'll save my own. I'll invest in myself, right? Guess what, millionaires? Each of us has a bank like that. It's called time. Every morning, it credits you with 86,400 seconds. Every night, it writes off as loss whatever parts of this you failed to invest. It doesn't carry over no balance. It allows no overdraft. Each day, it opens a new account for you, and each night, it burns the remainder. If you fail to use the day's deposits, that loss is yours. There's no going back. There's no drawing against tomorrow. You got to live in the present on today's deposit. Invest it so you get as much from it in health, happiness, and wealth as you can. And above all, keep in mind the clock is running. You have to make the most of today. No, you have to make the most of this evening. Now, it's a big step that you're on a call like this. It's a big step that you were on time. Because every time we get in this call on Wednesdays, it starts off as like 20 or 30 people. By the time we leave, it's 200-300 people on the call. Why don't people value their time? Obviously, somebody else is valuing your time. That's why they're paying you money to be there. But when it comes time for you to do something for yourself, all of a sudden we get a bit lackadaisical, right? A year ain't nothing, Haziq. All right, tell that to the student who failed, who got kept back a year. Tell that to the network marketer who a year ago could barely pay his bills, and now he's making 4 or 5 figures, even 6 figures a month in 1 year. Oh, a month ain't nothing, though. If you don't realize the value of a month, ask a mommy who gave birth to a premature baby. Oh, well, a week, I know I can waste a week, Haziq. If you don't think a week matters, ask the editor of a weekly newspaper or somebody who puts out their blog once a week. Well, surely I have an hour to waste. Ask two lovebirds who are waiting to meet up about the value of an hour. Tell the person that doesn't value a minute to think about the person that just missed their train and then missed their plane. A buddy of mine was taking his homeboy to Mexico for his birthday. They missed their plane by 5 minutes and therefore missed a life-changing, remember it the rest of your life experience over 5 minutes. To realize the value of a second, just ask somebody who just avoided an accident. Ask somebody who just avoided an accident what a second means. Now, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but email, texting, for those of you that were on the affirmation call this morning, we talked a little bit about how everything from email to texting to smartphone, we're in a whole new time zone, y'all. We're literally in a whole new time zone. You spend an hour and a half on your phone every day, that's 2,700 minutes a month. That's almost 2 24-hour days in a month, and most people spend more. And I'm not saying that it's all unconstructive time. I'm just saying it's 90 hours. You can measure the value. I'm saying that now we got Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and everything demands your attention right now. This new app called Periscope, if you don't give it the attention in the first 24 hours, that video is gone forever, never to be seen again. Now you add to that blogs, e-zines, emails, websites, and you have hundreds of new hours that are demanding your time and attention. That's your time. That's my time. So let's just say you spend 3 hours a day on all of that. But tell the truth and shame the devil. 3 hours is a minimum for some of us on this line right now. 3 hours a day is 15 hours a week. That's if we only count 5 of them. That's 15 hours a week, y'all, if you only count 5 of them. Now, normally on the weekends, are people putting their phone on the charger and leave it there till Monday when it's time for work? Yeah, right. You would feel like you had just lost a limb. But let's just, for the sake of making a striking point, that we only do this 5 days a week. That's still 780 hours a year. That's still about 1,000 hours a year. Now, some of you are 1,000 hours a year on just your phone. But I just want to humbly submit that instead of you spending all of that time wasting it and spending it, that you begin to invest your time. That's what this call is about. This call is about learning how to invest instead of spend or kill time. So here are a few things to write down that will be high-value activities that you should invest your time in. How about making connections? Or number 2, helping customers. Number 3, providing value to the world. Number 4, building relationships. Number 5, earning referrals, asking for referrals. Number 6, building your own platform. Everybody has one. That'll be a whole different training. But please believe, platform is the most important thing. If you know like I know, this is a good time to get that platform book from Michael Hyatt. It's a company that I work with that has 8-page summaries of books like this. You really want to read platform ASAP if you're talking about doing more efficient work to stand out in this noisy world. Number 7, writing and blogging. Number 8, following up. And number 9, making sales. And if you know like I know, you might want to allocate some time for what one of my mentors calls laser days, power up days, and recharge days. The most successful people I know, millionaires, create superior results, yet still maintain a balance among work, family, and recreation. To achieve this, there are all kinds of different planning systems. There are all kinds of different structures and strategies. But one really powerful way that I wanted to share is that you kind of separate your days and structure them into 3 very different kinds of days that are pre-scheduled to assure the highest payoff, while still allowing abundant amounts of time for you to goof off, recharge. We'll get into it in a minute. But the first day that you want to write down are laser days. A laser day is a day in which you spend at least 80% of your time operating in your core genius or your primary area of expertise. This is a day where you'll interact with people or processes that give you the highest payoffs for the time you invest. To be successful, you've got to schedule more focus days and hold yourself accountable for producing the results. In previous trainings, we've discussed core genius, right? But for those that are just tuning in today, this is your first time being on Obsessed with Success. Your core genius is the one thing you love to do that you do so well you hardly feel like you should charge for it. It's effortless for you and a whole lot of fun. And if you can make money doing it, you make it your lifetime's work. Your core genius is your natural talent, the area where you shine. My area of genius is speaking and coaching and writing and seminars and such. I do these things easily and well. And when I do them in a focused way, they're the things I get paid the most money for, right? For me, a laser day would be a day in which I spend 80% of the time speaking or leading a seminar or a fee, writing or editing a book, developing a new audio program, kind of like these, or coaching somebody to achieve an even greater level of success. What is your focus day? Maybe your focus day would be spent designing a new line of clothing or making sales calls or negotiating deals or producing a loan package to send to some mortgage lender. Maybe your focus or your laser day would be painting or performing or writing a grant proposal for some nonprofit. Figure it out. The next kind of day would be a power-up day. For a laser to work, you got to power up. You can't be a chandelier. You got to be a laser. But for a laser to work, it has to have power. So a power day, a power-up day, is when you prepare and plan. I think it was George Washington or Abraham Lincoln. I'm never sure which one, right? I'll Google it, right? But he said that if he had an hour to chop down a tree, he would spend 50 minutes sharpening an axe. If you got 6 hours to chop down a tree, you'd spend 5 of them sharpening the axe. These are power-up. This is power-up mindset. So one of these types of days would be a power-up day. This is when you prepare and plan for a laser day, either by learning a new skill, locating a new resource, training your support team, delegating tasks and projects to others. Power-up days ensure that your laser days are as productive as possible. For me, a power-up day might be spent taking a seminar to improve my training skills or planning how to maximize sales of our books and tapes, right? Or rehearsing a new speech. Maybe reading potential stories that I'll use in a future speech or in a future training or presentation. Maybe I'm delegating a project to some member of my support team, right? Yours might be seeking out a mentor, developing some new presentation, writing out a brochure for your company. Maybe yours is studying your home study course or reading a new book that will add to your skill set. Maybe yours is preparing in a studio for a recording session. or interviewing a new job candidate. Maybe yours is training an assistant. Maybe yours is attending a blueprint seminar or some kind of industry training. Maybe yours is writing a manual for your employees or studying the manual that's already been written for you and your team. These are power-up days. And then that brings us to recharge days, because a laser has to recharge, right? Now, if a power-up day is going to be, planning to maximize sales of books or CDs or, clothing line, right? And a focus day is a day where, spending your time, 80% of it in your core genius. What is a recharge day? A recharge day extends from midnight to midnight and involves no work-related activity of any kind. Millionaires, the brain does not work off pressure. Oh, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. The brain works off stimulation. That's why you always hear millionaires say that the warrior calms down, the weak slow down. We ain't talking about slowing down. You're going to play hard too, but this is a free day. It's a day completely free of business meetings, phone calls, emails, work-related documents. On a true recharge day, you're not available to your team, your clients, your students for nothing except true emergencies. Injury, death, earthquake, flood, fire. Real emergencies. Because let's be honest for a minute, right? Real emergencies are flood, earthquake, fire, death. Most of these emergencies that you get called for, they're really coworkers, teammates, employees, family members who haven't been given enough responsibility or training or authority to handle the unexpected. That's different from an emergency. So you've got to set really clear boundaries, stop rescuing people, and trust them. Trust that they can handle things by themselves. When you train your team or train your employer or train your staff and coworkers not to bother you on your recharge days, you're doing them a big favor. You're forcing them to become more self-reliant. You're forcing them to grow in ability and self-confidence. And if you're consistent over time, people will get the message. This is ultimately a good thing, because what is our purpose here? Autonomy. Our purpose here is freedom. So you want to be free to have more recharge days and more laser days. Small caveat to that, right? I get it. Families sometimes, it's a natural relationship. Sometimes you just want to involve your, significant other or your children or, whatever, your family members. But just, this is a system, right? So let's be clear. Sometimes a recharge day means you're without them too. Sometimes you got to let go, trust, and take care of yourself for a change. Yeah, you can do recharge weekends with the family, but sometimes you need to do a recharge weekend by yourself. Sometimes you need to calm down and block out all the distractions so that you can let your brain be stimulated and it can just flow to you. These recharge days help you work harder and smarter. The value of regularly scheduled recharge days is you come back to work refreshed and ready to tackle it with renewed vigor, enthusiasm, and creativity. To become truly successful, you're going to need breaks to allow yourself some distance. That's what makes you more creative. One of my mentors always talks about how he believes that everybody's goal for free days should be like 130 to 150 days off each year. If you took every weekend off doing no work whatsoever, you'd instantly have 104 vacation days. You realize that? Time is something else. So if you were able to find another 48 free days, this is long weekends, holiday weeks, 2-week vacations, you could easily have 150 of these recharge days. You can rejuvenate and rest. No laptops, no emails, no smartphone, and I know you will feel some withdrawal at first. I guarantee it. But it's worth it. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's going to be worth it. Now, according to the travel industry, you know what I mean? Like they have a trade association called the Travel Industry Association of America. The average vacation in like 97 was 7.1 days. In 2012, it was down to 4 days. Now, what's even worse is that there's an association called the Families and Work Institute. They report that more than a fourth of all American employees didn't even use their vacation time. Why? Because they were afraid their job might be there when they return, or they didn't even have the money to go nowhere. So they're like, I might as well stay here and chase more money. If only they knew. The concept of a recharge day makes you more rested, more productive, and therefore more valuable to your team or your employer. This is why we say the weak slow down, the warrior calms down. We're talking about time management, y'all. So here are 5 other steps you might want to take to kind of implement more of an entrepreneurial approach to redefining your time. 1, list the 3 best focus days you've ever had. The 3 best laser days you've ever had. Write down all the common elements. This will give you clues as to how to create more perfect laser days. Plan for them. Number 2, meet with your team, meet with your staff, meet with your employer, and discuss how you can create more laser days where you can focus 80% of your time on using your area of brilliance to produce your best results. Enough said. Number 3, meet with your friends and your family and discuss how to create more true recharge days in your life. Number 4, schedule at least 4 vacations. They can be long weekends or they can be longer for the next year. These can be as simple as a weekend camping trip, going fishing, hit a theme park, a weekend in, Cali or Vegas, just taking in the sights, maybe a weekend at the beach if you want to visit friends in a nearby state, or it can be that vacation dream you've always had. Hawaii, right? Bora Bora, Australia. If you don't plan it, though, it won't happen. So sit down and make a plan. Have you ever had that feeling when you went on a vacation finally and you're like, why don't I do this much? The world is managing to go on without me back home. Why don't I do this? It's just comfort zone, y'all. Number 5, list the 3 best recharge days you've ever had. And look for some of the common elements. Schedule more of those elements into your free days. It's something that a famous economist, Pareto, came up with. At least that's what I think, that's how I imagine you pronounce his name. That's what it looks like. If you've taken notes, Pareto, Pareto. And what Pareto came up with is this concept they call the 80-20 law. And the 80-20 law basically says you get 80% of your results from 20% of your effort. Use that as your scheduling all of this. It will change your life. I got a story, and I sent this out on Dear Millionaire probably like a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to give it to you guys so, even when you're listening to this months or years from now, it'll remind you. A really powerful story. It's been told a million different ways. I even have it in my book that's about to come out. And by the way, if you haven't joined Dear Millionaire and you're taking notes, text message to 81010, a special text message that will just say, @MillMind. Because these are the kind of stories. I sent this one out as a YouTube video, and it's life-changing if you will let it be. But if you missed it, it's because you're not on Dear Millionaire. And all you do to be on Dear Millionaire is text message @MillMind, just like it's a Twitter or an Instagram address, @MillMind to the number 81010. @MillMind to the number 81010. All right? So one day this expert speaking to a group of business students, and to drive home a point, used an illustration I'm sure that you'll never forget either, right? He says he stands in front of this group of students, and he says, okay, it's time for a quiz. Now, these are a bunch of overachievers. You know they love a quiz, right? So he pulls out this 1-gallon mason jar, and he sits it on the desk in front of him. Then he produces a dozen fist-sized rocks that he then places in the wide mouth of this mason jar, one at a time. When the jar was filled to the top and no more rocks could fit inside, he said, is this jar full? And, of course, everybody in the class is like, yeah. Then he said, really? Then he reaches under the table, and he pulls out a bunch of gravel, a bucket of gravel. He dumps it inside, and it starts to fill in the spaces between the big rocks. So then he smiles and says, is this jar full? By this time, the class is kind of onto him, right? And so they're like, probably not, right? So then he's like, good. Then he reaches under the table, and he pulls out a bucket of sand. He starts dumping the sand in the jar. And, of course, it fills in all the spaces between the rocks and the gravel. Once more, he asks the question, is this jar full? No, the class shouts. Once again, he says, good. He grabs a pitcher of water and begins to pour that in until the jar was full to the brim. Then he looked at the class and said, what's the point of this, y'all? So this being a class of high-powered achievers, of course, everybody's, ooh, ooh, ooh. He picks one. The student says, the point is, no matter how full your schedule is, if you try really hard, you can always fit some more stuff in it. The teacher says, no, that's exactly not the point. The truth that this illustration teaches us is that millionaires, if you don't put the big rocks in first, you'll never get them in at all. You understand that? If you don't fit in the 20% of your activities that give you the 80% of your results, you will live a mediocre life. What are the big rocks in your life? What are the core genius activities in your life? What's the project you want to accomplish? How much time do you want to spend with your loved ones, or your faith, your education, your finances? What is your cause? If you don't put these big rocks in first, you'll never get them in at all. So what I want to give you is 8 steps on how to prioritize. I'm going to give you 8 steps on how to prioritize your life as you're beginning to put together the big rocks. These are powerful. These could easily change your life, and I hope they do, because I wish nothing but the best. Time escapes minute by minute, y'all, hour by hour, and nothing you can do can stop a clock or a calendar. We all have the same amount of time, 1,440 minutes. Why is it that some of your friends, and maybe even we've been guilty of this, I don't have time to do that. And Beyonce got the same 1,440 minutes. Bill Gates got the same 1,440 minutes. What's the difference? They're putting their big rocks in first. That's the difference. So the key is to invest your time in the big rocks. Not only for the sake of your team or for the sake of your company, but for the sake of your sanity. So these are 8 ways to prioritize the big rocks. Write that down. Number 1, record all activities. Write down all your multiple demands, competing priorities, tasks, and activities for the day. or the week. You can even do the month if you want. It's up to you. Number 2, determine which are the big rocks. List your primary goals for the day or the week or the month. Number 3, consider the 80-20 rule. Which of these 20% of activities are going to yield the 80% of the results? Number 4, evaluate important versus urgent. Decide which of these activities are the most important versus the most urgent. See, it's really important to take into account how certain of these are going to affect others of these, because the consequences for not accomplishing certain tasks, for example, somebody might need something from you in order to do their job that you've delegated to them, all of that needs to be considered. You've got to evaluate important versus urgent. Number 5, use a ranking system. You just call number 5 rank. For example, the A tasks have high priority and must be completed immediately, as in they're important and urgent. A B task is moderate, you might call this moderately important, right? But when you're keeping it completely honest with yourself, it can wait till after the A tasks. And then C are those low-level, just menial, pedestrian things that can kind of be relegated to our spare time. That's just one way of ranking. You can come up with your own. I'm just here to help. Number 6, create a schedule. So number 1 was record all activities. Number 2 was determine which are the big rocks. Number 3 is 80-20 rule. Number 4 is important versus urgent. Number 5 is rank. And number 6 is create a schedule. Indicate deadlines for each task. Estimate the time involved to complete the task. Create a schedule, keeping in mind any tasks that may be linked together to increase your productivity. For example, can you couple something of a lesser priority with something of greater importance? Absolutely you can. Number 7, constantly reevaluate. Reevaluate. This is your goals, this is your strategy, and then adjust accordingly. Review your goals and the rewards of doing the task on time, and make the adjustments based on that. What am I in this for again? How do I achieve that most efficiently? And then number 8, my personal favorite, is purge. Get rid of the items on your list that remain at the bottom and will realistically not get done. Just get them out of there. Do you know you get a shot of dopamine just for completing a to-do list? It is so fun creating lists because your body is wired for it. Your brain is always going to encourage. One of my favorite mentors from afar, Mr. Tony Robbins, he says, life always rushes in to support those things that support more life. Well, these leadership chemicals are no small example of that. Dopamine's an example. It keeps the human species moving forward because it gives you a shot of happiness when you accomplish something that's helpful to you. It's called dopamine. Use these lists, y'all. So I hope that was helpful. Does anybody have, if you have any questions or feedback about any of that, then *6, mute your line.
Hello?
Anybody got anything for that?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. What's your name and where are you from? And then what's your question?
Hi, sorry. My name is Ahime Sato. My question is, I know we were talking about time management, and I'll just bring up a personal situation this week. I don't know if I'm sure myself, or I could just be honest with myself, but I feel that I'm falling short. This week I'm just a little more, how can I put it, not sluggish, that's the wrong word, but I'm not doing as much as I usually do.
and I just feel like I'm not accomplishing as much. I'm trying. It's not like I'm giving up. But what would you say about a situation like that? Because I feel like I won't talk for everyone, but sometimes you do feel like you're not doing enough. What do you do when you're not doing enough? Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like, that's real common. Like, what I tell clients is, like, you just got to make your why bigger, one, and then you have to champion yourself for execution, not results, too. What I mean by that is that the devil will have you killing your own morale because you don't see the results that you're hoping for. You've got to detach from the results and just make sure that you master the execution. Trust the struggle. And a lot of times, if you will find your fun in just crossing out doing what you said, see, a to-do list doesn't have nothing to do with the results. A to-do list has to do with the actions you're saying you're going to perform. You can't control if this person buys the product after you make the sales presentation. What you can control is making sure that you hit every single benefit that's relevant to their life after you gathered all of the information you needed, after you did your whole introduce, interview, inform, and indoctrinate process. So you can't control whether they're a moron and they actually buy the widget from you, but you can give yourself props for executing properly because you know somewhere out there is somebody who isn't so silly or moronic or ignorant or scared or doubtful. So that's how you keep your morale going. As for the first one I gave, when you're talking about the idea that you need to kind of keep your why huge, the way I always describe it to my team or to my clients is that you want your why to be much bigger than your ego. Just that simple. You want to make sure your why is much bigger than your ego. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, a dog on a hunt does not notice fleas. You get me? As in,
right.
I'm not, listen, if I have a why big enough, see, there are many, many reasons for having a huge why. First of all, it makes you a leader because other people join you, not for what you do, but they do it for why you do it. Second of all, it makes it so that they can see their dreams and your huge vision. But third of all, it makes your skin bulletproof because you don't feel rejection, you don't feel doubt, you don't feel fear. And if you do, you don't care because you've got the hunger that can only come from a strong reason, a strong purpose. You've got the power of purpose. And so once you've got something in front of you, one of the famous examples of it is like you talk about not doing enough. Well, there's a famous example that like we use sometimes where, you know, if I put this 2x4 and I strung it across the building of two really tall buildings and I said, hey, would you walk across this board for $5,000? You're gonna be like, man, heck no. What about for $10,000? No. What about for $50,000? I might. But then we make it rainy outside, and it's windy, and you know what happens to wood when it gets wet. So then we say, would you walk across this board for $50,000? You're like, no. And that's how a lot of us feel when we think that our why is going to be money. We're like, man, the money's not worth this. The money's not worth my peace of mind. The money's not worth me putting up with the rejection. The money's not worth me putting up with people talking bad about me. I care what people think at this point because I'm thinking about the money and I don't want to seem not cool to my friends because I'm just driven by money. But now let's take that same 2x4 and put your loved one in there, somebody you care about more than anybody in the world. Let's put your mom in there or your son or your daughter or your nephew or your niece in that building and set it on fire. All of a sudden, you going across that board for free. Because you have the power of purpose. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And it's funny that you brought that up. I'm sorry I keep going because I know there's other people that want to speak. But my mom and I were speaking on the phone today, and I told her that I was thinking about getting another job in order to make ends meet. And she was like, do you realize ever since you were in high school, you always went after money? You never focused on school or the important things because you always ran after money. And I thought about that. Before I won't listen. I'll just say my mom's always nagging. But I took time out to listen to her, and it's like what she's trying to say is be passionate about something. Don't always chase the dollar. You know what I mean? And I think you said that in one of your seminars before. You were speaking about, like, I think you said something about money. Like, it's not always about money. It's something about passion. I'm not sure exactly what you said, but that's pretty much what she was trying to get to me, was like, you know, stop chasing the money, stop chasing the results, focus on why you're doing it, the purpose. Hello.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. Does anybody else have anything? Any other millionaires?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear your name, where you're from, and then we'll continue this on Periscope afterwards. If you're waiting to ask a question and you got a couple of seconds, download Periscope, because we're going to go live on Periscope in a minute, and I'm going to give you guys the number one secret to productivity. This secret right here was so good that it literally changed the whole prospect for a company back in the 1920s when it was first taught. I'm going to give you guys that Periscope right after this, probably at about 6:30 p.m., but I'll send it out through Dear Millionaire. Yes, ma'am. What's your name? Where are you from? And what kind of question did you have?
Hey, this is T in Houston. Actually, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to, I was listening. I'm getting ready to do a presentation, so I hope you don't mind me being on speakerphone. But real quick, the young lady that just spoke, I just felt like I needed to add, if you don't mind.
Sure.
One of my success partners told me that, because I was running hard, I was going through the people, but I was going through the no's. And so one of my success partners told me that what you produce in the next 90 days will be a result of what you've shown in the last 90 days. So just because you don't feel like you're being productive doesn't mean that you aren't. And then the second thing that I'm sorry?
That's a great point.
Oh, yes. And then the second thing that I was going to say is also another thing that I had to, and I'm still guilty of, is to make sure you're doing the right productivity, because I was making myself busy with a lot of things in my company and doing, a lot of activity, but it wasn't the right activity. I wasn't getting the people in front of what they needed to see in order to be successful in my numbers. I was doing everything else that needed to be done except for exactly what I needed in order to be successful.
That's very good, and there's a lot of reasons for stuff like that. I always teach it like this. There's a huge difference between productivity and activity. How do you tell the difference? Well, productivity means you're working on a project. What's the definition of a project? A project is anything that once you're done working for it, it starts working for you. Everything else is just busy work. Everything else is you running on a treadmill. You're going to be sweaty, you're going to be tired, but you have not gone nowhere. So I love that. Does anybody else have anything for us this week? Tell us your name, where you're from, and your question.
Well, Hazik, my name is Sigrid Arshield, and I'm in Massachusetts. But I actually had a question for you about using Periscope. My phone I can't use Periscope on my phone, but I know you guys go over a lot of really important things that I hate to miss, but I can't use Periscope. Is there any other thing that you use besides Periscope that I could see some of the things that you put on Periscope?
Well, first of all, our website is being completed now, so there will be all kinds of things like that on there. The other thing that I want to point out is that somebody on the Periscope broadcast invariably shares it, and so I'll try. If you are you already with me on Facebook or Instagram or any of that?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. So you answered one of my posts on Instagram before.
Okay, awesome. So what I would say then is that what you might want to do is just be watching the Instagram. For those that don't have my Instagram, it's at Hazik Ali. And then my Facebook is Hazik Ali and then the number 1. And then what I'll do is I will post up the replay link, because you can still watch it for 24 hours, and you should be able to watch that from just your conventional, laptop or computer. So I'll post the link on either Instagram or Facebook or something like that, and then we'll post the live link to it, and then you'll be able to watch it afterwards.
cool, because I know with the vision boards, I really wanted to see what you did on Periscope, but I didn't.
Yeah, that was fun. Well, yeah, you know, and then just try and download Periscope again, because I'm pretty sure it works with all Androids and all iPhones. So we can talk about that more there on Instagram or Facebook. If you still can't figure it out, I'll try to connect you with somebody that can help you. But I don't want to spend too much time on just the Periscope thing. My Periscope is at Haziq, everybody. Haziq is my Periscope. Okay, so Haziq is my Periscope. If anybody else has any kinds of questions about time management or about any of the material we went over, this would be a good time. Anybody got anything? Okay. Well, hey, my name is Haziq Ali. I appreciate everybody for being here. My Instagram is Haziq Ali, like I said. My Facebook is Haziq Ali 1. If you have any questions or whatever that you didn't want to kind of like say in front of everybody, then you can inbox me the questions. I'll try my best to help you out. Instagram is a better place. You can post the questions underneath the thing, because my Instagram isn't as heavy and populated. Sometimes I confess it takes me a while to get back to people on Facebook sometimes. But any ways I can help, let me know. And just remember. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Quick question. I was on the affirmation call Sunday morning, and there was actually a group of us there, and we actually went ahead with the call, and we conducted it ourselves. But we came up with an idea for a private group on Facebook, and we wanted to call it Millionaire Minded, so that those of us that have like-minded, are like-minded and millionaire minded could speak with one another. And I'm Robert from Atlanta, and that's what I wanted to get started, so that we could actually go one-on-one with each other as well as you know, so that we can share ideas and thoughts and things of that nature. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention so that everyone else could have that opportunity as well.
Yeah, we actually have that already.
Really?
And, yeah, we do the affirmation calls at 9 a.m. on the weekends, and then 7:25 a.m. on the weekdays. So it's 8:55 on the weekend, 7:25 on the weekdays. On top of that, you may want to join Dear Millionaire so that you can just stay abreast of how the movement is moving.
Yeah, well, I am with that Millionaire. I've got that.
Okay, good. So everybody else that isn't. Everybody else isn't, might want to text message at MillMind to the number 81010. At MillMind to the number 81010. On top of that, the website is about to be up where, you know, you'll be able to, you know, get the clothing. You'll be able to participate in the full culture, get access to all of the videos, all kinds of the things that we post through Dear Millionaire. There'll be a feed. There'll be a feed from different things, just so that it just becomes a resource. For those of us that believe that we only have about 6 or 7 years left to become millionaires, and so we're moving with a sense of urgency. That's why I love the lady's sentiment earlier where she was like, she just doesn't feel like she's doing enough. That is an indication that you have a winner's conscience, that you have a winner's thermostat in your head. And I love it, because hunger is the big differentiator. Hunger is the big equalizer. If you have enough hunger, you will make a way. If you don't, you will make an excuse. Now, it comes with a few other nuances, like you got to constantly be reevaluating your strategy. You have to make sure you're surrounded by people that make it more efficient for you to be effective, because that's what they're doing as well. There's a lot of little nuances like that that, of course, we teach, but the main thing is that you got to take 100% responsibility for your life. Don't seek to compete, seek to create. And that's the bottom line. So if nobody else has anything, and thank you for that.
I have something, Mr. Haziq. Quick question. How do I follow you on Periscope?
When you go on Periscope, there'll be a search. There'll be a search window with a magnifying glass, and then you just put in @Haziq, the @ and then HAZIQ, @Haziq.
Okay, perfect. And you're on your way there now, correct?
No, we will be starting that in about 30 minutes, at about 6:30. That's when we'll be doing that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
No problem. This story that I'm about to tell on Periscope is gonna be like really cool, and I'm gonna give some extra content as well, like we always do. So if you don't have Periscope, this is a good time for you to download it. It's really fun. It's gonna be the new wave, and it basically turns your phone into a TV station. It is absolutely mind-boggling. But my Periscope name is @Hazik, which is HAZIQ. H and then AZ and then IQ, like the test. Anybody else want to cut me off when I'm about to get off? Okay. I'm about to hang up. Okay. So, I just want to leave you with this one thought. Carpe diem, like seize the day, right? Make sure you're being productive, not just active. Make sure you're accomplishing things other than just being busy, right? And above all, remember this, millionaires, if you remember nothing else. It is the millionaire-minded mantra. Either your mind expands to match your goals, or your goals will shrink to match your mind. I love you all, and I'll see you on Periscope in about 23 minutes. All right, y'all.